So they are going to be what to focus on first, second, and third in terms of if you're just starting out. What do you do, right? There's a lot of options out there, and I want to help you clarify the first three steps. Next is we're going to talk about how to put yourself out there and avoid procrastination. I know from experience that having to create content and having to like put yourself out there and build an audience, if you're introverted, it's a little tricky, right? So I'm going to talk about that and also how to really own your message, right? How to really like just know the value you're giving people. And then finally, how to grow your audience so you can make an impact. Sound good? All things you want to know? Yeah? All right. Let's dive in. Now, before we do, if you want the summary for any of this, just in the comments below, just type me and my team will reach out to you and get you some notes. Cool? All right. Without further ado, what to focus on first, second, and third. Now, by the way, before we jump in, if you're not aware of me, my name is Michael Murphy, and I started, before having an online business and now teaching people how to have an online business, I worked in Hollywood. So I worked on Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Iron Man, Fast and Furious. Those are the good ones. I also worked on some turkeys. And throughout my career, people were asking me to mentor them. And that led to me doing a lot of one-on-one mentoring sessions and traveling. And it was just a big pain in the butt. So finally, I sought out a way to sort of automate what I was doing so I could still help people, but help more of them in less time. And that led me into the wide, wacky world of online businesses, specifically courses and services. And throughout that time, or as I launched my first business, which was animation training, because that was my expertise in Hollywood, I was immediately successful. So soon other entrepreneurs, I was in some business masterminds, and other entrepreneurs like, hey, Mike, how you doing that? Can you help us out? And I quickly realized that building a business is really overwhelming. There's so many moving parts. If you've never done it before, what happens is, first off, you don't know what you don't know. Second off, you end up going down these rabbit holes where you're just wasting time doing what you naively think is going to work for you, but it ultimately doesn't. And that's because business is it's like building a car. I'll use this analogy. It's like building a car, and if all you think that you need to have a car is a steering wheel, you're going to spend all this time buying a steering wheel and researching steering wheels, right? Having the perfect steering wheel, but doesn't do anything for you. You need the whole car. Well, same with the business. So if you're spending your time doing, let me back up. What most people think they need to do is marketing tactics. And I'll tell you why. That's because as a business coach, I can tell you from experience, it's easy to sell somebody on the outcome, the end tangible result they want, which is more clients, right? Oh, I'll show you how to get 10 to 15 clients a minute. Woo, with my push a button and you get the clients. That doesn't work unless it works, but only when you have a mature business. You've got ad spend money, you've got a validated offer, you've got a proven sales process, right? You have all these really advanced things in play. If you're just starting out and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go hire this coach and he's going to help me get clients, or I'm going to go do this and worry about Facebook challenges, or whatever the case is, 9 times out of 10, those aren't going to work. And when they do work, they're going to work to the point where you now have clients. You're like, woo, I made money, I have clients. But you don't have any fulfillment systems in place. So now it's like Sunday at 3 in the morning and you're working with clients, or you're emailing them and you're checking stuff, right? Because you didn't build your business the right way. Trust me, I know this from experience. You have to go slow and steady. And unfortunately, the first couple steps you're going to have to do aren't the sexiest steps, but they're the most critical steps. So without further ado, let me dive in and walk you through these steps. Now, first, let's define our end goal. So I always like to have the target in mind. The target in mind is you're going to get clients, and you're going to save your time, right? You're not working endlessly one-on-one with clients. You're not hitting a ceiling of how many clients, right? If there's only 8 hours in a day, and really for clients, you can only really serve like 4 clients a day. So after a point, I'm not going to try to do math. That'd be 20. I think 20, 4 times 5 days a week, 20. So you can pretty much max out at 20 clients if you don't have systems in place. And that can be a real grind, because then you don't have time to go and do marketing. You don't have time to do sales. You're just serving those clients. So very quickly, by getting a pop of clients up front, but without having everything built properly, you're just now in the client game and your business just withers on the vine, and then your clients start getting crabby because you're not giving them the full attention because you've got all this panic going on. So what we want to do is, after we define the end goal, getting clients and saving time, we want to figure out where are you? So you're typically, most people that are following me are kickstarting either a new offer or entirely new brand, right? They've been doing coaching or consulting, or they've been doing services for a little bit, and now they're like, you know what? I'm going to get serious. I'm going to make this my business, and they're transitioning out of hobby or dreaming mode into doing mode. So let's say that's where you're at. Well, in order to get more clients, you need to have an offer, and in order to have an offer, you need to have a process, and in order to have let me talk about process real quick. Process is going to be sort of the roadmap that you're going to lead your clients through. So you can't just say, hey, hire me and I'll get you magically results. You need to be like, hey, hire me because I've got this plan that's going to get you the results, right? People are paying you for the plan or the process. So you need to have offer, process, and then you need to have a message that gets people interested in knowing about your process. And then your process gets them realizing they need it, and then your offer is just basically fulfilling your process for a price. So those are the three things, 1, 2, 3, that you need before you can even think about getting clients, right? You don't want to start spending money on ads or endlessly making social media content if you don't have these three things totally locked down. So let's talk about these in a little greater detail. Message, what that is it should be authentic to you. It should not be like, you shouldn't just have some cookie cutter marketing approach and you feel cheesy saying it. It should be where you're like, hey, well, this is the way I teach it. You want to know what your audience's story is, and that's your dream client. This is the person who's going to pay you for your time what you're worth. This isn't like, oh, I want somebody to buy my $20 ebook. This is, I want somebody to spend a couple grand on me, because when you have a high ticket cash flowing offer, this is a premium offer for your business, that's going to bring money in. So what a lot of people do wrong is I just had a sales call the other day, and this woman, bless her heart, she's like, no, I really want to have a $100 workshop for people. And I said, why? She goes, well, the people I'm serving don't have a lot of money, and I can't have a $5,000 coaching program. And I said, well, actually, you're going to go broke marketing to broke people, right? It's great that you want to help those people. Instead, customize your offer and your message to the people that have an urgent problem with money, get their money in, and then that money funds you to go and make free content for the people that can't afford it. And she's like, oh, that sounds great. So that's what we ultimately want to do. We want to think about, who is your dream target audience that has the money to pay you for a cash flowing offer, high ticket offer. Now, once we know what that messaging is, we want to develop their story. So what is their story? Where are they now? Where do they want to be? What's been holding them back? What misconceptions do they have? In other words, if they think, oh, I'm going to go solve that problem, what do they think that is? Now, you're the expert, so you know how they really need to solve the problem. But 9 times out of 10, your audience is not educated the way you are in terms of the problem that you're solving. So they think surface level solutions, where you're thinking deep, lasting solutions. So we need to know where they're at so we can meet them in the marketplace at that point. So that's their story. And then we want to know your story. Why did you start your business? Why are you passionate about helping people? What's in it for you? Right? So in order to really build trust with an audience, with somebody so they want to buy your stuff, they have to know, like, and trust you. And the best way to get them to do that is just telling your story, just being authentic, saying, hey, I started my business because, right? And I'll tell you mine, right? So I started my business because I've been trapped in corporate, right, working in Hollywood. And then when I transitioned into starting my own company, because nobody told me these steps, I was trapped in client fulfillment. And it sucked. And when you're in that spot, you start to panic. You make really bad business decisions because you're always just chasing money, chasing opportunities. So that led me to just kind of pull the brakes. Luckily, one of my businesses was making me enough. and I got some investors. So I was able to just go slow and steady and build this process out. So this process that I'm teaching you, I've been developing since 2016, and we've had at this point, over 377 students have gone through it. So it really, really works. And every time I see somebody fail in the industry, it's because they didn't follow these steps. So please, please, please follow these steps. Anyhow, that's my story. I don't want to see other people suffer the way I did. So because of that, I developed my company. And you need to have an authentic story too, where people are like, okay, yeah, this guy's just not trying to make money. He actually wants to help. He's coming from a position of caring. So when you know what your audience wants and you can articulate why you want to help them, right? What's the passionate, heart-centered reason you want to help them? Now we've got an awesome message. Another element of the message is the problems. What are the problems you're solving for your audience? If you're not solving problems, they're not going to pay you, right? The only exception to the rule where you're not in the problem-solving business is where you're in the industry I used to be in, which is the entertainment business. But even then, I'd argue that you're solving the problem of boredom or relevance, right? People want to be caught up with pop culture, so they'll go to the movies and they'll buy games and whatnot, right? So think of it that way. What are the problems that you're solving? Who's the audience that is suffering from those problems? And then why should they listen to you in terms of your solution and your passion to help them solve the problems? So that's messaging. The next thing you need, number 2, is process. Now, I already mentioned process to a degree. So think of your process as like a roadmap. Here they are. Here they want to be. What's the path to get there? And what are the benchmarks along the way? So if your urgent problem is you're in Los Angeles and you need to get to New York, there's something big happening in New York, family members, need you or something, right? So you need to go from LA to New York. You would want to know before you went on that, you wouldn't just walk outside and start walking, right? You would first make a plan of how you're going to get to New York. Then you would shop around for plane tickets. Then you would find an Uber to the airport. Then you would go to the airport and so on, right? There's going to be logical steps and milestones that have to happen so you can eventually get to that end goal. Well, that's what your process is. So if your audience is, let's say your audience wants to lose weight. You're Bob, the health coach, right? So here your audience is now. And here's where they want to be. I call this now to wow. And if Bob's client, let's call her Sally. Sally wants to lose weight. She wants to lose 15 pounds in, let's say, 90 days. Now Bob knows what her wow is. He can define that. It's a measurable, tangible outcome that Sally wants. So what Bob then needs to do is figure out what are the steps or the categories to get Sally from now to wow. So that might be, I'm not a weight loss coach, but that might be number 1 would be stepping on the scale and assessing her current weight. Step 2 might be throwing out all the junk food and then doing a food journal so she can really understand what she's eating. Step 3 might be figuring out the best, safest exercises for her, and so on, right? So step by step by step, how does Bob help Sally go from where she is to where she wants to be, then now to wow? That is your process. The classic example of this is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Pretty much everyone's heard of that. That's where Stephen Covey, I believe he was a high-performance coach. He just looked at the top 7 sort of groupings of things people need to focus on. He framed it really well. He made it marketable, and bingo, he had a process. Now, just FYI, I believe he passed away in the 90s, and as of the last time I could get some info on him from Forbes magazine, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry, all because he has a process that his company sells. So you want to develop a process so you're selling your process and you're not selling one-on-one time with yourself. So that is process. And the third thing is your offer. All your offer is you take your process, right, 90 days to lose 15 pounds, and you attach a money value to it, right? $3,000 or it's 10 grand or whatever, right? Now, how you fulfill that offer, the deliverables are going to dictate how much you can charge. So for example, you're always going to have a course or some sort of training. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a video course where people log in and check it out. It could be a live event where you're in front of a stage and you're teaching it, right? But you've got the content, the step-by-step how-to as the spine of what your offer is going to be. But you can also add on top of that group coaching, group coaching. You can add on that one-on-one calls where they get a call with you once they hit specific milestones. You can also add in accountability coaching. So by adding all those different touch points with you, you can charge more and more money. And that way, if someone gets on a sales call with you and they're like, oh, I can't afford that, all that stuff, you can be like, well, let me remove some things and the price is going to drop. So you can make that one offer really accessible for different price points and different types of people. Hopefully that makes sense. So those are the 3 things in the beginning you want to focus on: message, process, offer. And once you build those and validate those, and you want to validate by getting a minimum of 3 people to buy your offer before you even think about running ads or making a bunch of content or booking speaking gigs or doing all the sexy stuff that people think they need to do in order to get clients. In fact, that's all counterintuitive, because what you really need to do is focus on these 3 things. Clear? Okay, so that is what to focus on first, second, and third. Let me clean my screen off. Now, if you need help on this, if you got some questions about any of that, or you want to see, I've got an 8-step process that's going to help you focus on building all of those things. So if you want to know more about that, just jump over to https://mlmurph.com/get help, or just head over to thevisionaryplanner.com, and there's buttons all over where you can book a call with us. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about that? Leave a comment below. Otherwise, let's go to the next lesson. All right. How to put yourself out there and avoid procrastination. Yes, this is a big problem that people face. And what I find is the root of that is that people aren't yet believing that people should pay them, their clients, or an audience, I should say, should pay them for their expertise. So in other words, they feel like an imposter. They feel like they're not quite where they should be. So here's Bob, and Bob dreams of getting more clients and having more impact and doing all these great things, yet Bob hasn't really done it yet, right? Or Bob maybe has worked with a couple of clients, but what Bob's doing is he's comparing himself to the gurus who are up on stage and they got hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram or whatever, and Bob's got like 5 people, like his grandma and his dog maybe, like following him, right? So Bob's not feeling too confident about putting himself out there. Well, let me just tell you, this guy who you're looking up to, that guru in your space, that person has been doing this for a while. They started where you're at. They started at ground zero. Unless maybe there's an exception to the rule. I don't know. Like maybe Tony Robbins' kids are gurus now, and Tony's just like, here's everything you need. But 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 10, everybody that you look up to who has taught you on your journey to being where you are today, they started where you're at, from zero. So don't compare yourself to other people. That's just never going to work. Instead, what you want to do is look backwards. So you've taken all these steps to get to where you currently are, and certainly you've got a lot of steps to go to get to where you want to be. However, when you look back, when you just stop and you look backwards, you're going to see a long line of people behind you who are just a couple steps behind you. Those are your best clients, because those are the people who they're not looking to get this. Maybe deep down they're like, oh, I want to get to that end goal, right? But in general, they're looking at you and wanting what you have, because you have something attainable for them. It's not intimidating how many steps ahead. You're not that far advanced, right? So if we're looking at skiing, somebody who doesn't know how to ski, for example, they're just looking at the people going down the hill leisurely and going, I want to ski like them. They're not looking at the downhill skier who's winning Olympic medals. They're like, oh my God, that's like a whole new level. Maybe the person teaching skiing who knows how to go down the hill, they're looking at the Olympic medal and say, oh man, I want that. But their clients, they're just starting out and they just want to they want to confidently just go down the baby hill, right? the simple hills. So when you compare yourself, when you're looking ahead and you're comparing yourself to the people who are much more advanced than you, that's not the way. You want to turn your head, in fact, and look behind you at the people who are just a couple of steps behind you and recognize they're your clients and they need your help. Make sense? So if you're not quite where you want to be, here's kind of the recipe for that. One is look backwards and map out how far you've come. So what are the steps that have gotten you from zero to where you are? Next, what is your message? Why message with two S's instead of three? What's your message? Why are you passionate about helping people overcome this problem? Chances are you suffered from the problem or a loved one suffered from the problem. Now, I get a handful of clients every now and then. Usually it's like in the medical space or the health space where they were an expert, they studied something, and now their clients are coming to them to solve a particular problem like diabetes, and they don't have that problem. But most of the time, if you're an expert, you're solving a problem. Like if you're a marketing expert like me, or when I was doing animation training, you want to know how to have an animation career, right? I experienced those things. I'd gone through those motions, and therefore I was equipped to turn backwards and help the people that were a couple or many, in some cases, many steps behind get up to speed. So what is your message? Why do you want to help those people? And that really comes down to, why is your heart in it? If you can, so coming from the movie industry, the movies that really make a lot of money, that really resonate with audiences, are the movies where there's a big heart to it, right? It's not just explosions or boobs or, car chases. It's heart. It's human connection. So you need to have that human connection and really communicate why you want to help people. Now, the last thing here is I want you just to give yourself permission to not be that person on the stage yet, or whatever whatever the next steps for you are that you're not there yet. Don't compare yourself. Just love yourself where you're at and understand that this is a journey. We don't become the expert overnight, or we don't become the world-renowned, recognized, famous, I've got 1 billion followers on social media expert overnight. It's a long, slow road. And the very first thing you need to do, the very first metric you need to hit, if you're really serious about helping people out, is 10K a month. If you can consistently hit 10K a month, that's as a solopreneur. You don't want to be running ads at that point. You don't want to be having a team, maybe a VA that's like part-time, but you pretty much want to just solidify 10K a month, get the sales dialed in, fulfill those clients, coast at that level, stack some money in the bank, so you can then go and invest in expanding, which is hiring a team and running ads. Those are the two biggest leverage points to save you time as you scale your business. So really, really, really important stuff. Now, one last thought here. I used to be really, really, really introverted, believe it or not. And I had to force myself out of my shell. Like, I became an animator because animation, I didn't have to talk to anybody. I could just stare at my screen and be creative. But I recognized that as I was moving through my career, I needed to get out of my shell so that I could be a supervisor, then eventually a director. And now as an entrepreneur, I'm working with clients and I'm working with my staff, and I got to make content, right? So I could see the writing on the wall that being shy and I don't want to be on stage, that kind of an idea wasn't going to serve me to get my message out there. So what I did is I went and I invested in stand-up comedy classes. I do not at any point, I didn't want to be a comedian, but I wanted to be confident standing on stage and presenting ideas quickly. I also did improv. Again, I didn't want to be a comedian, but I wanted the skills. I also studied speaking, public speaking, and I also did acting. I did everything humanly possible, and I did this all for about 6 years when I was living in Los Angeles. I did everything humanly possible to break me out of my mold and get really comfortable so that I wasn't afraid to put myself out there. Because when you are afraid, the outcome of fear is procrastination, right? That's how it manifests. It looks like we're just always thinking and always talking about it, but never actually doing it. And that's because we're scared to actually do it. So don't be afraid. Just be strong in your conviction of what your message is. If you need to, take classes so you can get over that. But you've got a passion inside you. You've got a message. You've taken these steps to get to where you're at. And the people that are a couple steps behind you, they need your help. It's your duty. So if this is something you really are passionate about, then please, please, please follow these steps so you can get out there and start making moves and changing the world. Cool? All right. As as always, let me clear that off. As always, if you need help on any of this, then go to mlmurph.com/get help, and you can book a call with my team, and we'll walk you through what it's like to have us help you get over your procrastination and get that message out there. Okay, let's next talk about how to grow your audience and make an impact. This is super important because obviously as a business owner, if you don't have an audience, you have no one to sell to. And if you have no one to sell to, you ain't got no money in the bank. No money means no business, means you are not making an impact. So how do you grow your audience? And then ultimately, how does having that audience help you change some lives? Now, let me just do a disclaimer. You want to provide value for people. So if you're just like a get rich quick person, I just want to make money and do absolutely no work at all, then that's not reality, buddy. You got to work hard. I've been doing this for a long time, and there was never ever any easy button. It's like the only answer is hard freaking work consistently, day in, day out, and taking a crap ton of risks. So if you're not willing to do any of those things, then this industry is going to eat you up, and you might as well just go play video games and call it a day. So that said, how do you grow your audience and make an impact? Well, the very first step in growing an audience is defining who they are. Who is your audience? Now, within that, what you want to do, so if this is your audience, it's a bunch of people, right? It's all these people in the audience. You want to find the subset of people in that audience that have an urgent problem. So think of it this way. If I'm a plumber, I'm Mike the plumber, and my audience is basically any homeowner or any real estate owner. Okay, that's fine. There's a lot of people out there. It's pretty big, but it's also a very broad niche, right? Hey, if you own a house, I'm a plumber. Like, it doesn't really speak to people. It's too broad. So what we need to do is look at all those people and find a sub-niche of those people that have an urgent problem they're willing to pay for. So that could be people that are building a house and they need that house done quickly. Or better, that could be people who they have a pipe leak in after hours, right? So not outside of normal business hours, their pipe is leaking. I guarantee you, if I show up at their house at 3 a.m. and I give them a big fat bill for my time, they're going to pay it because nobody wants their pipe leaking and ruining their hardwood floor at 3 a.m. So once you can look at your audience from a big, broad niche and then break it down to urgent problem, that's when you can really have an audience that's receptive to listening to your solutions to solve their problem. So that's really the biggest thing, is find an audience with an urgent problem and then analyze the competition, analyze your marketplace, and just validate people are paying to solve that urgent problem. If you're not finding any clues that other businesses are selling solutions to that problem, run for the hills, because you don't want to be the first person to go and try to figure that problem out and how to market it. So that's the very first thing. Define who you're going to sell to and who has the money and who has that urgent problem. Next, then you want to understand their story. What makes that person tick? What's going on inside their head? So we got two different elements here. We have psychographics and demographics. Let's start with demographics because that's easier. Demographics is going to be things that you can actually quantify. You can run ads on. Like, what are their likes? What's their age? What's their gender? What's their educational background, right? These are all demographics, and they're very important, but they're really only important from the standpoint of narrowing your ad interest down. So when you do eventually get to the point of running ads, you're not just blowing money. But more importantly, it's going to be psychographics. Psychographics are things that we can't necessarily measure. These are like what people think, what they feel, what they hear, what they say, what they do, what keeps them up at night, what they tell others, the lies they tell others. But so the example is how's your business going? Oh, it's great, when they're like hemorrhaging money, so they don't want to tell the truth, right? So we want to know all of those things. So once we know all of those things, now we can properly market to them and address their problems. We want to meet them. There's a common saying in marketing: enter the conversation that's happening inside their head. So we got to know what's going on in their head, so that you can then go and create marketing that hits them right where they're at. Right? Are you feeling overwhelmed and confused because you have no friggin' clue how to go out there and take your expertise and turn it into an online business, right? That's where I'm entering, if that applies to you directly, but that's where I'd be entering a prospect's mind, and they should be going, yeah, that's me. Right now I have their attention. They want to hear more about how to solve the problem that I just called out. So we want to know the story, and we ultimately want to know, oh yes, what is the urgent problem that person's facing? And then what we want to do, after we define and we narrow down the niche, and then we understand the story, then what we want to do is figure out your story. What is that message that you have? What is that passion inside you? Why are you really committed to helping people out versus just making a quick buck? How are people going to know, like, and trust you? If they don't like you, if they don't find that you have their best interest at heart, they're obviously never going to buy from you. And if they don't trust you, they're obviously never going to buy from you. So how do we communicate that? Well, the easiest way, and this is revolutionary, is just be authentic. Just tell people why, why you want to help them. And if you're really genuine about that, that's going to resonate. They're going to connect with you, and it's going to allay their fears. And it's also going to humanize you. So if you walk down the cereal aisle, you've got all these boxes of cereal, right? Blah, 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 Cheerios and whatever. Well, most of those cereals, they'll create a little mascot, right? The little Cheerio Bee or Tony the Tiger on the Fruit Loops or Cap'n Crunch, right? They're trying to take these products and put a personality to them. I'll give you some more examples. McDonald's has Ronald McDonald. Burger King has the Burger King guy. KFC's got the Colonel. All these companies go out of their way. Progressive's got Flo. Geico's got the little Geico, right? They always want to have a personality that's the face of the brand. So you are the face of your brand. You are your brand. So what is your story? And that needs to be very clear. And unfortunately, you're going to have to repeat yourself a lot. You're going to get very sick of saying, hi, I'm Mike, and I do this and that, right? It's going to be like, oh, can I just change this up? This is like the millionth time I've said it. But the reality is that's your branding. You have to repeat yourself over and over and over and over ad nauseum so that you're constantly driving home who you are, who you serve, and what problems you help solve. Really basic. And then the next level of that is, what is your unique solution to solving that problem? So when you can really outline those 4 things, you've got a really solid, emotionally engaging story that humanizes you and lets people know, like, and trust you. So once you have those 3 things, then what you want to do, kind of step 4 here, is just consistently, and consistency is the word here, consistently put out content. That's it. Commit to it. I've studied, I don't yet have a awesome YouTube channel because I don't have the time yet because I'm focusing on other things in my businesses. But everyone that I've studied who has awesome, just big audiences on YouTube, all of them, 100% of them say that the reason they have that is they consistently put the time in to make content. If you've ever listened to Gary Vee, that's all he talks about. Just make content, just over and over and over, right? He tells how he would, like, for a couple of years, he was just making content daily, flatlining, and then something happened. Some influencer mentioned him, and boom, he just took off. Because then people went back and through his feeds and they're like, wow, this guy's a beast. He's just constantly making content. So the same holds true for you. Just commit and then make consistent content. And in the beginning, you want to make content in different platforms and in different modalities. So you're testing, and eventually by you doing that consistently, your audience is going to start to engage with it. And that's when you can do the whole 80-20 rule. Right? What's the 20% of your content that's getting 80% of the engagement? So maybe for you, it's short TikTok videos, right? So you tested out 7-minute long training videos, and then you tested out 20-second TikTok style videos, and the TikToks are blowing up and nobody even cares about the other stuff. Great. Glad you got that data. Now just focus on the TikTok style videos. Make sense? So consistency is going to be your friend. All right. I could teach about this stuff for days. I do. But for now, I'll zip it and move on. So that is that. If you have any questions about that, please drop a comment below. If you need help and you want us to work with you and create a content plan or figure out your audience, anything like that, we are here to serve you. Yes, I'm a coach and I've got a company and I've got an offer to sell. But more importantly to me is that you're clear and confident on what you can do so you can go out there and make an impact. So that's why we've got free calls with my team. So if you want to speak to my team about strategy or implementation, go to mlmurph.com/get-help. And then if you need our help, we'll tell you about our coaching programs. Otherwise, I wish you the best. So that's that. Okay, you got this. If this is your dream to go out there and build a business that gets you time freedom, location freedom, people freedom, and it's your dream to really impact lives, and it's your dream to get consistent, predictable income, right? All those things are very, very important. Then I tell you from experience, it's all possible, but it's only possible when you do this the right way. You go step by step by step. You avoid shiny object syndrome, and you avoid self-doubt, right? The worst times in my career is when I wasn't clear on what to focus on. I had all these different options, and it's like you almost get blind. You get delirious to all these things, and you're just like, you're falling basically, and you're trying to grab at anything that you can reach, and often that's not the way to go. Instead, what you want to do is just really think about your audience. Who are they? What do they want? How can you give them value? That's it. That should be your one defining factor. If you can do that and always think about audience centric and keeping it simple, what's that one offer you're going to go deep in that's high ticket enough that it's going to help you cash flow? Because it's going to be a lot easier to sell 5 people on a $3,000 program than 50 people on a $100 course, right? It's the same amount of work to sell somebody, the same amount of ad costs to acquire the lead. So you might as well convert them into a high ticket offer. So please keep it simple. Focus on the high ticket offer. Have a great process that communicates how you're going to move that person through that high ticket offer to get them the transformation, and focus on your messaging and consistently putting content out. Those are the secrets. That's all you got to focus on. So hopefully this served you. If you have any questions about any of this, leave a comment below. Otherwise, go out there and crush it. And if you want the summary to any of this, then just in the comments say me, and my team will reach out and give you a summary of all of this. And that's it. So Mike Murphy signing off. Make your dreams happen.